Hi everyone, welcome back to my series, The Decades of Action Challenge, which was inspired by Razor Wire Reviews and Forkbrawl's own series called the Epic Film Challenge, whereas they are reviewing movies in the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before I Die. I am going through each of these selections by a writer named Tom Breihan, his picks for the most important and influential action movies of each year, beginning with Bullitt in 1968 and moving forward. I am doing a 1983, and Breihan's choice is the Jackie Chan starring and directed picture called Project A movie which I had never seen and never heard of before. I'd seen a few Jackie Chan movies in the past. I'd seen a couple of the Rush Hour movies. I'd seen Rumble in the Bronx and what's the one with the stepladder, where he uses the stepladder? First Strike, right? I wasn't actually too aware of his directorial career, though. His first film he directed in 1979 is called Fearless Hyena. He directed Project A and its sequel. He directed Police Story and its first sequel. He directed Armor of God and its first sequel, which is known as Operation Condor a lot of places. He directed Drunken Master 2, which is known here as Legend of Drunken Master, one of his most well-regarded films. After all that, he directed a movie called Who Am I, which has a really great rooftop fight scene at the end between himself and two other characters. Legend Drunken Master actually is the one in which he basically does the backwards crab walk across a live bed of hot coals. That's a very sort of infamous stunt. And a couple of the other stunts that he's done over the years have seriously injured him. I think he broke his back in one scene in Project A. He actually fell on his head from a great height. There are a couple of rather infamous stunts that he did himself. And when Rumble in the Bronx was released in '96, they actually had Ben Stein star in a commercial in which he pointed out the fact that Jackie Chan doesn't use any stunt doubles or stand-ins or CGI or anything like that. He does all the stunts himself, just to sort of remind people why he's as great as he is. The other reason, of course, why Jackie Chan is great is because he's just so much fun to watch. He's incredibly high energy. He moves really rapidly. He's a very sort of comical personality. Oftentimes, his expression is one of being very overwhelmed by a situation, even though he's clearly a great fighter and a great physical athlete. He's just incredible. He's an incredible guy to watch. Before Project A, before I watched this movie, I actually caught the end of Legend of Drunken Master. Just happened to be playing on TV. Lucky for me. And I think when I saw this movie in the theater, it was, I can't remember if it was a revival screening or not. It was post its regular release. But when I saw it, I might have been a little overwhelmed by all the fighting in the movie, sitting there, you know, for basically an hour and a half, 2 hours, watching fight after fight after fight. They sort of blend together. The only thing I really remembered clearly about that movie was the hot coal sequence. But having just watched the end of that film, just the last portion of it, the last fight in which he faces off against the villain, who's this guy in a suit, who lets a lot of other bad guys fight him and basically throws and kicks large objects at him from a distance. But then when the time comes, he comes to engage him personally. He does these incredible kicks where he basically twirls around and brings his leg down in a motion like that. It's just, and he does it over and over again. It's like wham, wham, wham. He's just spinning like this and kicking at him. It's just amazing. It's an incredible sequence. And, you know, as impressive as Jackie Chan is, his opponent is incredibly impressive as well. So yeah, I've seen Police Story, the first one. I've seen, you know, like I said, a couple of Rush Hours, a few of his films. But yeah, wasn't really aware what he directed actually and what he simply starred in. He didn't direct any of the Rush Hour movies, of course, but he's probably, you know, although he might be best known for those, a lot of the other movies that he'd done a little earlier than that are even more impressive. So Project A, Breihan writes about Project A, and he writes about how everyone who goes to see Jackie Chan movies never goes for the story, never goes for the plot, which is probably a good thing because this one is actually pretty ridiculous. It takes lots of really, really crazy turns. Doesn't have a real consistent through line, except for the fact that the police department in Hong Kong and the Navy, I think it's the Navy, or maybe he calls it the Coast Guard in here, I'm not really sure. Anyway, the Coast Guard has been trying to stop commercial ships from getting attacked by pirates, and so they end up requisitioning a lot of arms from the police. The police force don't have any guns or anything like that. All they got is like billy clubs, and they're unhappy about that, and they don't like the Navy very much, and so the Navy and the police force have this kind of rivalry. And the first big scene, the first big set piece in the movie is a fight in a bar, which takes place between the Navy and the police force. Jackie Chan is in the Navy, and so he's fighting the cops along with his fellow sailors. And the lead cop, the most prominent character who's on the police force, is played by a guy named Yuen Biao. Not really familiar with this actor, but they end up partnering up because when the Navy is punished for the fight and the police force aren't, Jackie Chan and his fellow sailors are forced to join the police force and train under Yuen Biao, his rival. So there's some training sequences in which they are, getting pushed around by these guys, but eventually, of course, they do team up to try and stop some criminal activity. And my favorite set piece in the movie is one where Yuen Biao and Jackie Chan, along with a few other, newly minted police officers, walk into a hotel with their, badges in their pockets, trying to arrest a very sort of wealthy and connected person for attempted murder. And the hotel staff is saying, we don't know where he is, and, we're not sure he's even here, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And Jackie Chan isn't having any of it, and he goes and tears the place apart looking for this guy, and eventually sees him in a back room. And so when they try to arrest him, they're not only opposed by the minions of the criminal, this guy they're trying to arrest, but also a lot of the hotel staff as well. And everyone seems to be trained in martial arts, even though they work at a hotel. It's a really, really great fight scene. There's a big balcony in which Jackie Chan basically jumps all the way from the top and lands on his feet on the floor and doesn't seem any worse for wear. It's amazing. But he gets chairs thrown at him. He gets all kind of furniture thrown at him. He lands in really painful ways on the ground and on staircases and things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of fight scenes in this movie, and a lot of them are really impressive. That particular one is kind of my favorite, mostly because there's all kinds of fancy stuff that gets trashed. But eventually they sort of team up and they go after this gangster, the guy who's trying to buy military rifles, and so there's a fighting going on there, and there's a sequence where Jackie Chan's being pursued by guys on bicycles, and he's riding a bicycle, and there's all kinds of great stunt work involving him hopping on and off the bicycle and using it to block guys and hit things and what have you, down these narrow passages that they're traveling in the city. It's a fun movie. It's definitely not, something that you want to pay a lot of attention to. As far as the story goes, he's really sort of a goof and kind of a screw-up, but then he gets to give a sort of big speech to a political figure about, dealing, doing under-the-table dealings with a gangster, and how that's bad, and you shouldn't be a bad person, you should be a good person, which is kind of the exact same speech he gave to Chris Penn in the first Rush Hour movie. Remember, that was kind of unrealistic, that Chris Penn would just kind of stand there and, hang his head in shame and listen to this when he's supposed to be a hardened criminal. But yeah, nobody goes to this for, Jackie Chan's a fun guy, he's a fun personality, but yeah, it's all about the fights. And Breihan, one of the reasons Breihan picked this movie is because it was really sort of the standout in his career, really sort of launched him and sort of solidified his style, his comical fighting style. He went on to make a bunch of movies that are much more well-known than Project A, but Project A kind of stood out in the career as being that sort of like the big leap, the big stepping stone to his great success internationally, of course. And I guess he was already a big star at that point in Hong Kong, but this made him an international star. This was actually, 1983 was the first year that I tried to guess what Breihan's pick would be before it was actually announced in his series of essays. Breihan, what he does is he writes about the movie for a particular year, and then at the end of the article he says, okay, here's what I'm going to be writing about next year. So before he posted his review on 1982, I tried to figure out what his 83 movie would be, and I incorrectly guessed Blue Thunder, which is a John Badham movie starring Roy Scheider and Daniel Stern as a couple of helicopter pilots who are testing out this new experimental chopper, but they run into some trouble with the bad guys played by Malcolm McDowell. And Breihan, of course, didn't pick Blue Thunder, but he did give it a very honorable mention and really praised Malcolm McDowell's sleazy villain, catch you later. That's kind of his catchphrase in the movie. I don't remember a lot about that movie, although I had seen it as well back in the 90s, and I had an argument with my friend about whether or not when a missile that Roy Scheider fires at Malcolm McDowell misses and hits an office building, whether or not the people inside were killed. And my friend's like, no, they cleared the building. Nobody got killed. I'm just like, nah, I don't think so. I think a bunch of people got killed when that missile hit the office building. I mean, people were just sitting around doing their jobs. They weren't expecting a helicopter battle right outside. Come on, give me a break. Yeah, I'm working a lot these days. I'm working 6 days a week, and I haven't had a lot of time to do research and even, just take a lot of time for this video, I'm afraid. So I'm sorry if this is a little threadbare, this particular review, but I hope you enjoyed it. And my next review, of course, will be on The Terminator, Breihan's choice for 84, and I have plenty to say about that movie because I've seen that movie a bunch of times. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Breihan's essay, of course, is on avclub.com, and I've got the link to his essay about Project A below in the description, along with a link to my playlist for all these videos. Please check both of those out, and if you haven't checked out Razor Wire Reviews or Forker Ball, please do. They're a couple of great guys. I really enjoy their videos a lot. And thank you very much for watching. And again, next week, The Terminator, and we'll find out whether or not my guess for 2001, The Fast and the Furious, was correct. Because they'll be posting his article on Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon for 2000, so I figure the next one will be The Fast and the Furious. We'll see. Anyway, sorry. Sorry if this isn't up to scratch, but I appreciate you watching. And thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye.